Good evening and welcome to the December 20th meeting of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission. It is 6 o'clock and I'll call the meeting to order. Introductions of the board here tonight. With me is Secretary Rhonda Schwartz, Member Gordon Rundle, our school liaison, Terry Reed. In the audience tonight is our Executive Director, Tim GROPP, and our Executive Assistant, Eder Lopez. Next on the agenda, moving along, is we've confirmed a quorum and we've given proper notice of the meeting tonight. Have we received any public comment, Tim, via email?
We received no public comment, questions, or comments. So.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the consent of our regular session meeting minutes for our November meeting. Those were previously distributed. Any other comments or edits on that? All right, we'll go ahead and approve those by consent. Next is the approval of our claims and expenses. Tim?
Nothing crazy. It was one page this month, mostly payroll, TIF projects, and attorneys. So nope, pretty straightforward. Great.
Any other questions or comments on that? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve the claims as submitted.
All right.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Small group, we gotta just keep
All right. All those in favor of approving the claims and expenses, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's approved 3-0. All right. Next is our director's report. Tim?
Yeah, so we've been real busy around town, and we've seen some progress on a lot of these projects. So first one, we were able to do an official groundbreaking at the Hampton Inn and Conference Center, Hampton Inn Suites and Conference Center. There's a rendering of the project, and that was on the 10th. And they're moving right along, trying to get their infrastructure in before that ground freezes too much. So they didn't even really stop while we were having the groundbreaking. So they were anxious to get on site and move, and that project is moving forward, and we should see some vertical here really soon, actually, in early 2022. So got to get used to saying that. So we're excited about that. Work continues to progress on Freddy's on the corner as well. And there's a rezone petition going to council for the site next to Freddy's at the January 10th council meeting. So prior to the January 10th council meeting. So still getting a lot of activity out there, and we'll continue to see progress over the next couple of years. We anticipate the T&H investment senior housing kicking off in early to mid 2022 as well. So we're excited about all that. 1300 block, if you've been down Main Street, you've seen the steel going up, and you'll actually see a facade going on that sooner than later. So we're getting really close to getting some of the pads done and the internal infrastructure, and then they'll start putting brick up. So they want to get that sealed in before winter if possible. So. And then we're finishing up 1426 Main. We're just about done there. They put down the last of the planters. We're getting those filled with some river rock and get them all ready for the spring so they're ready to go. But everything turned out really nice and had mostly all positive feedback so far. So it's been a good project. And 10th and Castle, we're still just kind of waiting on supply chain. We haven't gotten our poles in. The power has been buried for the most part. There's still poles to be, there's a couple of last lines that need to be taken down, and then the final poles yanked out of the ground. We're trying to coordinate that with Indianapolis DPW. And then it's just a matter of getting the new infrastructure in place. So we're getting real close, and things are turning out really nice there. And that corridor has really changed a lot in the last year, so we're excited about all the investment and what they're doing there. And the Wilshaw, we continue to have weekly meetings with Hotel Equities and 33 Degrees. They're making progress. There's a lot of moving parts, as we've mentioned many times. agreements with many different entities, so they're kind of working through the order of who they need to work out those agreements with, and they've got several of them in place. Financing, they have several different avenues for financing. They still fully intend to lock up the financing aspect of that in January, and then hopefully we have started working through amendment number 4 and what we're going to need to do from our end to be able to assign those agreements over to them when that time's right. So still a lot of work to go. This week I have off on the phone call, but the attorneys are going to be speaking on some of those agreement language, and but we are making progress. There's just not a lot to see until we get all this in place, but we're still fully pushing to try to have this ready to go. Oh, we're also getting a lot of calls and background. They're truly doing their due diligence on the construction side, making sure everything's in place there regarding updating permitting and zoning codes, things like that. So they're doing a lot of due diligence. We're receiving phone calls from a lot of different entities. So they're definitely out there working and putting in the time, effort, and money to get this thing back on track. So if anything changes on that, we'll be sure to let you know as soon as possible. So that is all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Next on the agenda is our new business. First one on the list is Resolution 2021-08, the Economic Development Agreement between the Speedway Redevelopment Commission and KennMar.
Yeah, so we're excited. This is the first time that this project will be announced publicly. The parcel located at the northeast corner of 16th and Lyndhurst you used to have a very old time ago was the post office, and then it was a kind of a convenience store and whatnot. And there's 3 buildings there. Pam's Pit Stop Pizza, I believe it was called. There you go. Has been purchased by a developer, KennMar, which is actually the one that bought the property just to the south of that, the old Chase Bank, and redeveloped that. Has acquired that property and has partnered with a group that I will introduce here in a minute to redevelop this corner. This has been a site that has been talked about needing redevelopment for quite some time. The buildings are dilapidated and need some improvements, and so this is one of those nice scenarios where a developer is taking the lead on the redevelopment, and we're just because it was a target for us, we're willing to participate in that redevelopment to get it done. If we put up the picture of what it's going to become, so they will actually tear down the old pizza building, they will connect the 2 buildings, improve them, and I'll actually have Joshua Klein step up here for a minute and kind of talk about what the vision is for what this corner is going to become, and then I'll step back up and talk a little bit about the Economic Development Agreement. Josh?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. Is it easier for you to hear if I take my mask off?
We can hear you. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so the name of the business is Borage.
Okay.
Borage, so like porridge or forage. And I'll get into why we call it that in just a little bit. So Borage is about food that we love to create and eat in a comfortable neighborhood space that we hope is inviting for both residents of the town of Speedway as well as the many visitors that come here. Borage is a restaurant where you can leave with a seasonal Indiana farm-focused meal under your belt, a bakery to pick up a house-made croissant made from grains grown and milled in the state, and a market stocked with provisions from the very same farmers and vendors that we'll be featuring in the restaurant and bakery. So borage is one of the highest nectar-producing blooms you can put in your garden. And while it's not native to the United States, it has been adopted by native species for the ability to provide sustenance to pollinators and ward off unwanted pests. So Brent, he grew up here in Speedway and has since established his business, KennMar, refurbishing the old Chase Bank building, as was just mentioned. And he's always had the dream of making 16th and Lyndhurst a destination spot. So when Brent approached Zoe and myself, his enthusiasm for the community just quickly convinced us that this is the perfect location for our dream business. So much like the plant borage, while neither Zoe or myself are native to Speedway, it's our goal to be the restaurant version of that flower for the Speedway community and greater Indianapolis. So the food at the cafe will have a range of comforting staples to rely on, in addition to a rotating menu that will showcase what my team and I are excited and inspired by seasonally and locally. So whether you're a solo diner who happens to come in on a Thursday night or a family of four with raucous young children on Saturday morning, you'll find a welcome and encouraging space to find a delicious meal for all palates. In the bakery, Zoe and her team will create everything from sandwich loaves to inventive croissants to specialty cakes. Her sourdough, affectionately named Gus, will be a staple, providing our baked goods with a not-too-sweet component and our bread with that distinctive tang and chew. The market is where our joy in the kitchen and community will be more sustaining than just coming in for a bite of lunch. You can walk out with a freshly baked loaf of bread, a bottle of our fermented hot sauce, locally grown produce, a candle from a gifted local vendor, or a stash of frozen prepared meals to last you through the week. So we want our guests to talk about borage with a sense of shared ownership by becoming a staple of the community. We hope to partner with the food pantry to donate meals, produce, and baked goods. We will gladly open our private dining space for community gatherings. We will have a commuter special of a breakfast sandwich and drip coffee for folks going in on the way to work, and a family meal package for 4 or 2 or 6. We'll do it in orders of 2 for people to pick back up on their way home. So we're just greatly looking forward to meeting our guests as they become regulars at Borage. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'd love to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Awesome. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. We're really looking forward to having you and just continuing to elevate the food options here in Speedway. So
That's great.
It's great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We just can't even describe how excited we are to be here. We have a 3-year-old and a little newborn, and we're already thinking about the day when we can move our family over to Speedway. So we really just want to be a part of it so badly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And Tim, you mentioned, I think, about the existing buildings. We're not using any of the buildings. All 3 will be raised. Correct?
No, they're actually, I don't know if we can bring up the,
Is that rendering? It just looks like.
actually, they're keeping 2 of them and then making a connector in between.
Okay.
So the total investment by KennMar is over $2 million for the renovation. So there's demo, there's cleanup. These buildings to renovate, it'd actually probably be a little cheaper, more efficient to demo it, but there are some historical value, if you will, to at least the old post office. So they wanted to make sure they kept that. As Josh mentioned, Brent is a Speedway resident and heavily invested in the community. So he's spending more than he probably should to make sure this is done right. But the pizza building will be away. They'll have a parking kind of in the front. But they're actually taking the 2 existing buildings, connecting them to, which makes some of the site work and the elevations kind of tricky, and then making a connector there. So it's 2 of the 3 existing ones upgraded and connected for the community. So again, this is a great win. I'll kind of explain what's been requested of us, but to have a developer come in to a property that has been eyed for redevelopment and really take the lead on that, and us not have to do the phase 1s and negotiate the purchase and do the demos and recruit the businesses and everything has been a value to us. So to offset some of those costs and those higher costs to get what we wanted, they've requested some assistance in the purchase of the equipment for the building in the form of a 5-year forgivable loan. So we will be purchasing a chunk of equipment, and then assuming that the borage stays open over minimum 5 years, that chunk will slowly go away over the 5 years. We've done these in the past on a kind of a smaller scale. Some other businesses as well. And then also, the SRC is still owner of a three-way liquor license, and that will be placed on this project, and terms of which will be sold to, I think it's Borage LLC. There's several entities that are involved with our rights of first refusal if something goes awry, or as long as there's a restaurant functioning at the northeast corner of 16th and Lyndhurst, which is the intent of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission. That liquor license will stay there. If it ever does not become a restaurant or they want to move it elsewhere, we have the right to buy that back. So that is the request from them, a 5-year forgivable loan and the sale of our liquor license to them for the redevelopment. Again, it's over a $2 million investment. It keeps 2 of the existing buildings, cleans up a corner that's been a priority in the town, and brings a new exciting business kind of into the neighborhood. We get a lot of investment on some of the main corridors, but as we continue to do reinvestment in this area, we have some changes going over by Leonard Park, and we have more and more investment in this area. It's kind of neat to have a little neighborhood node there and some of those businesses at 16th and Lyndhurst. So I think this is a win for the community. I'm excited about it, and the EDA is in front of you, and we'd like your consideration of the economic development agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
All right.
Well, I think it's going to be a great addition, and especially, like you said, to kind of branch out into the town, beyond the main corridors. Did you guys have any
I don't.
question?
I think you answered them all.
I'm going to attempt to make this motion, but I'd like to make a motion to approve the EDA 2021-08, the Economic Development Agreement between Speedway Redevelopment and KennMar at 16th and Lyndhurst. Or is that KennMar 16th and Lynn? Is that the LLC?
KennMar 16th and Lynn, it's one of those sub-entities.
Sure. But I would like to put in the stipulation that we negotiate the 54 months
Yes.
to have the first right to purchase the liquor license if the project or the restaurant, I don't know if that's a bankruptcy stipulation or if it's out of business, just so it's not sitting there for 5 years. And
Yeah.
I mean, we can negotiate in good faith beyond that, but,
Yeah. Approval pending. I'll go back to Brent. He was unable to make it this evening. He had
Yeah.
another.
if they're not using it for a period of 54 months, so.
Yeah, that's one of our right of first refusal callbacks. If by chance, we hope you're very successful in there a long time.
Yeah.
But if
Sure,
by chance something
exactly.
happened and Brent was unable to find a replacement restaurant there, and that liquor license is just sitting there for a certain amount of time, we would have the right to, right of first refusal would kick in, and we'd be able to take that back to negotiate on the.
Sure.
I'll work on that.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. We'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of the EDA as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the consideration of professional services contract for the 16th and Main roundabout, and as well, I think we'll talk about the gateway signage.
Yeah, so some of our initiatives for 2022 are some quality of life issues that we want to focus on, things that have been talked about for quite a while, just haven't found the priority or the time or the money to do so, but will have an impact in our community. So one of those being the roundabout at 16th and Main. The roundabout's obviously there, but it was never truly completed because we never really did anything in the center of it. And there's twofold to that. One of that is visual impact, as a gateway to your community, even though it's not right on the edge. Highly visible area, and you want to have an impact statement that really defines your community. The other side of that is safety, So for a roundabout to effectively work, you're technically supposed to block the view. The person coming into the roundabout's only supposed to care about what's coming to the left of them. So when you just see a wide open road, you tend to speed up and not. We have a lot of accidents there. We have a lot of people that hit our light poles or hit the roundabout or whatnot. There's an element of needing to slow people down there. Some of that is by visually showing them that something's coming up in front of them. There's also some desire to put up some just more safety features to notify people that are coming into a roundabout and they need to slow down. There's high pedestrian traffic at certain times. But in general, we like to put a service contract in place to work on the design. There was an original design with some fountains and whatnot. It was conceptual. I'm sure that's what a lot of people have in their mind. We definitely do not want fountains there for various reasons. So we're going to take a step back, and so long later and start from scratch and say, what do we really want to see there? How do we want to represent the community? So that's the roundabout. And on top of that, we've been talking about defining the entryways and the boundaries of Speedway. Nobody really knows where Speedway starts and stops. I mean, you do if you live here for the most part, but I get that question all the time. We've talked about why don't we have some entryway signage. The first one that makes the most sense is really cleaning up and doing a statement at the corner of High School and Crawfordsville Road, kind of on the corner where Denny's is, kind of a welcome to Speedway area there. Right, because of the way that was abandoned, the old highway, we've just had safety barricades sitting there, which isn't very welcoming to the community, and it's a ideal, logical spot to have a gateway entrance to the community. So those are two projects that we want to get started on the design and concepts. We received five quotes from companies. We had gone out and gotten quotes. This is a professional services contract, so it's not necessarily price-based. We wanted to find the firm that we felt, because of the impact of these, because of the impact for our community, and there's that kind of a third aspect I didn't talk about, like the entrance sign really should be cohesive and the branding to what we're doing in the roundabout, but also we want to have kind of ancillary signs, down on the north side of High School Road, on 10th Street. So eventually we want those to kind of all blend together and kind of be designed as one. So this is a design professional services agreement. We can pick the firm that we feel has the abilities to have the greatest impact and unique design that best reflects our community and what we want it to say as people come in. So with that said, we received five quotes. From REA, from Context Design, from Browning Day, and then we had two engineering firms, RQAW and We Engineering. All the quotes, I will say up front, all the firms could accomplish this. They all have done both kinds of projects. They all submitted previous projects they'd worked on, and they all look very nice. I don't doubt the abilities of any of these five firms, which is why we asked for quotes from them. The prices were kind of all over the board. Some of them had mentioned that if they were selected for both, there would be efficiency. And also, as I mentioned, we kind of want some not only efficiency, but some cohesiveness to design. So my first recommendation is I believe you should pick one firm to do both projects. I think it makes the most sense for those reasons. After reviewing the designs, probably the one that stood out to me the most was REA, mostly for a couple purposes. One, they had worked on several projects that I mentioned as kind of inspirations of things that I really like, such as the Monon Trail and the Midtown Plaza in Carmel, the sign at the Indiana State Fair, things like that. Some of the projects that I really like, they were the designers on. They had also done some work in Speedway on the original designs, and doing some of the original artwork as well. So they're familiar with the community. They have an extensive portfolio, and frankly, some of their designs were just stood out as impact designs. I really liked them. They weren't necessarily the cheapest one, but they really stood out to me. The other thing I liked about them, we fully anticipate, especially in the roundabout, being some artwork aspects, and they had brought on some coordination with Smock Fansler that does fabrication of metals and whatnot to kind of assist in that aspect, which I was comfortable with. We had met with him previously when we were discussing this several years ago and just never circled back to it, and I like that aspect as well. But again, all the firms are qualified. I think they'd all do a nice job. REA just to me stood out in their design, and some of their previous projects seemed to really speak to me as far as what we are looking for. So, but with that, I will turn it over to the SRC, and as always, happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions for Tim?
Well, all the presentations were good. I mean, they've all are capable of doing this, but REA did kind of stand out.
Yeah, I really appreciate everybody who put together their qualifications and proposals, and I think we have a really great opportunity with both of these projects for some great work here in Speedway.
And just to be clear, this is for the design only.
Right.
And there will be another phase where we take the design and get it into construction documents and ultimately bid out the project. So kind of at the beginning, but we'd like to get this process started and try to complete it by the end of the year if possible. So.
Awesome. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we authorize the executive director to negotiate final terms, scope, and price with REA for professional service contract for 16th and Main roundabout improvements and for the gateway signage. And once finalized, authorize the president or vice president to sign professional service contracts.
I just had one comment. When we do this for the roundabout, are we giving them kind of a budgetary, like kind of how much money we want to spend? I mean, we don't want them to come back with an Empire State Building and say we can't afford it.
Clear, that's a great question, and that was a question I didn't have an answer for necessarily.
It's hard to do.
It's a chicken and egg situation. We could go out and say, I don't want to spend more than $250,000
Right.
on a roundabout, just throwing out a random number. Nobody hold me to that. And then you're going to build to that.
Sure.
So you're going to get something that meets that. And we could do it that way. Or we can say, here's our parameters of what we want. Let's design what we want. And if we have to scale back because we feel it's gotten too outrageous, let's do that.
Okay.
So I forgot to mention, our intent isn't to just say, here, REA, design something, come back to us. We actually, because of the impact of these, and we will have a committee with the representative from the Speedway Arts Council, town representation. We'll definitely have someone from IMS. That's at their entranceway as well. So there will be input on this from a committee that will help guide that and make sure that I don't want this to be the Tim GROPP version of what I think it should be. This needs to be the community's. So hopefully we'll find some ways to get some input from the community through some surveys or whatnot. Cheryl will help us with that as well, just to try to get input and find a direction. But I've kind of more chosen let's design what we want there and then figure out if it's outrageous.
Give them some direction before.
But we can scope that in as we're talking with them.
Sure.
We can say, look, do not build us $1 million roundabout or entry sign. They're not going to pay for that. But we want to, and a lot of it's generally going to be landscaping, so I don't think it's going to be crazy. But we do want some signage and some lighting.
No, of course.
So we don't want to skimp on it, but we also don't want to pay.
We need some sort of parameters, correct? So if that's the case.
That's part of the scope we need to kind of tie in. So.
Then I second the motion.
Great. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 3-0. All right. Next, under new business, is the second amendment to the EDA between Speedway Redevelopment Commission and HG Rebar.
So this is more of a documentation issue. So when we first started Founder Square, The intent was that we were going to negotiate with Circle K and move them to the corner so we could acquire their property to put the 25th and High School intersection in. It's been a while. That, for various reasons, mostly the wellhead protection area fell through. We ended up not having Circle K in the development, which is now Freddy's and another lot. Neither one of those need, Circle K had requested that we keep an existing right-in, right-out curb cut on High School Road. With Freddy's and the other group going in there, they do not need that curb cut and not accounting for it, and it frankly causes some confusion and some issues with people pulling off there. It also cuts the sidewalk, so we have requested from the developer, asked if it was okay if we went ahead, since we're doing 25th Street and others, if we'd go ahead and close that curb cut, expand the sidewalk and make it go away, since we didn't really want it in the first place. This amendment just documented, they were fine with it, we were fine with it. This is just, because it's not on the plat or anything, this is a document that acknowledges that both parties said it was okay to close that curb cut. So if anything happens down the road, we have a document that just puts that in writing that says both parties agreed that it was okay for the town to close that curb cut. I don't anticipate that ever being needed, but it's just better to document those things because all of us will not be here someday, to remind somebody that we okayed that. So that is what the amendment is. It's acknowledging that both parties are okay with this.
All right. Thank you for that. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for the Second Amendment to the Economic Development Agreement between Speedway Redevelopment Commission and HG Rebar, Speedway 2500 LLC, regarding the curb cut at the Founder Square, we just called it.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item is the 2022 meeting schedule.
Yes, so we're recommending a change for 2022. We currently meet on the third Monday of every month, kind of in between council meetings. If they sometimes have them on the fourth or not, sometimes not. Due to January and February falling on holidays, we have to amend those anyways. And also with having cable and whatnot, it makes sense. Our meetings are usually within an hour. Yeah, we're doing great. So we're recommending to avoid those conflicts and keep a more standard schedule to move our meetings to 6 p.m. on the fourth Mondays prior to the council meetings those evenings if they have them. That way there's more efficiency for staff as well as one less Monday that we all have to be here. So we're recommending it now. The only one that actually has to go to the third Monday is December. Because of Christmas, but we'll see how this works, and hope if we have some conflicts or something, we can always move it back. But we'd like to try to move it to the fourth Monday for now. Meeting schedule.
Sounds good to me. Any other questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the 2022 meeting schedule.
I'll second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0. All right. Any old business tonight, Tim?
Just like to say, I thank you for muscling it through. You made it. I mean, it must have been a rough year because we lost two of you guys. But we appreciate all your hard work and the time and effort you put into this commission. It's an important one, and I like to think we do a lot of good work around Speedway, and we've got a lot more to do, and I'm excited about the future, but I appreciate your dedication. And I just want to say, this is Terry Reed's last meeting, and I can't thank you enough for your years of dedication. You have been serving the community in multiple capacities for, I'll let you fill in the blank of how many years that.
I have to figure it out. I think since 1995.
Wow.
With the school board, the EDC, the Redevelopment Commission, I'm sure there's more. We thank you for all your time and effort and dedication to this community. You've made it a better place, and you've been wonderful to work with, and we really appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Come back and join us, because I know you'll be bored.
If you need an audience member.
Yeah, that too.
To look through the old minutes, prayers.
Well, I'll do January's.
Good. We'll give a grace period. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Tim and Eder, for all your hard work this year. I know there was a lot of extra things you guys had to pick up along the way, but you did a great job handling that. And Eder, we're so happy that you're here and looking forward to a busy and successful 2022. So any other community announcements or events?
I don't have any tonight.
Yeah. Well, wishing everybody a happy holiday season, and we'll see you in 2022. Meeting adjourned at 6:36.